The first sign came as a stack of glossy photos tucked under a windshield wiper. In July 2019, at Old Faithful in Yellowstone National Park, the couple who found them laughed at first because the pictures showed them from behind on the boardwalk, taken only minutes earlier. Then they saw the last photo. It wasn't the geyser. It was their car. It was the exact parking spot. And it was taken from so close that the photographer had to be standing near their trunk. They brought the photos to the front desk, expecting some weird prank. By nightfall, their rental vehicle sat in the lot with the doors unlocked, their keys placed on the driver's seat like someone wanted them found fast. Their phones stopped ringing. Their room stayed empty. Staff called it in. Rangers began a search. Witnesses described a quiet man with a camera who kept showing up wherever the couple had been, always just far enough away to seem harmless. A seasonal security worker tried to help by checking cameras and scanning the employee-only service corridors for anyone who didn't belong. He found more photos, dozens of them, printed the same way, sorted by date, each one centered on a different person who had gone missing. When he finally met the man behind it, the man didn't run. He smiled, like being discovered was the point. Let me walk you through what really happened that day. At the time, I was 31, broke, which is why I took every extra shift I could get. I worked seasonal security for one of the concession operations in the Old Faithful area. That meant parking lots, employee housing edges, service doors, and the kind of problems that don't make the brochure. My name is Adrian Cole. If you've ever been to Old Faithful in summer, you know what the crowds look like. It's a tide. It moves when the geyser goes, and then it spreads out, hunting bathrooms and coffee and shade. My shift started at 2:30 p.m. I checked in at the small office behind the main lodge area, clipped on a badge, and grabbed a radio that didn't always cooperate. The radio mattered because cell service didn't. A supervisor named Shelley handed me a list. Parking lot complaints, she said. People blocking the shuttle lane, somebody sleeping in a car, and the front desk says there's a guest issue. What kind of guest issue? I asked. Shelley looked tired already. They said someone left photos on their windshield, like printed photos. That got my attention. Photos of what? I asked. They wouldn't say over the phone, she said. Go to the desk. Don't make it bigger than it is. I walked out into the heat and the noise. By the time I reached the front desk area, I could feel eyes on me, not in a dramatic way, just the usual. People see a badge and assume you're the answer to whatever problem is in their head. A front desk agent waved me over. Her name tag read Miriam. She leaned in and kept her voice low. Room 312, she said. They're upset. They want to speak to someone official. I nodded and approached the couple. They were in their late 20s, maybe early 30s, sunburn starting to show, the kind that looks like a mistake you didn't notice until it was too late. The man spoke first. Someone put these on our car, he said. He handed me a thick stack of glossy prints. Not phone pictures, not a note, real prints, like a photo lab job. I flipped through them. Most of the shots showed the two of them walking, on the boardwalk, at the lodge entrance, at the gift shop. Always from behind or from the side, always close enough to feel personal. Then I hit the last photo. It showed their vehicle in the lot, shot from about 10 feet away. The angle was low, like the photographer had crouched. The woman's voice was tight. We just found them, she said. This isn't some souvenir thing. We didn't pay for it. Did you see anyone near your car? I asked. No, the man said. We were inside for maybe 15 minutes. The woman added, we left for a minute earlier to grab water. I thought I saw someone with a camera. I didn't think anything of it. I asked their names, the make of their vehicle, where they'd parked, and what time they noticed the photos. He said, we're here for one night. We're leaving tomorrow morning. Miriam watched me closely, like she was waiting for me to say the right words. I kept it plain. Do you still have the prints exactly how you found them? I asked. They were under the wiper, the man said. We brought the whole stack. I took them carefully and slipped them into a large envelope from the desk. I didn't want fingerprints becoming a mess later. I'm going to file this, I said. I'll also check security cameras near the lot. In the meantime, keep your doors locked. Don't leave valuables in your car. If you see that photographer again, point him out to staff. The woman frowned. That's it? I'm not saying it's nothing, I said. I'm saying we handle it like any other suspicious contact. The man didn't look satisfied, but he nodded. I asked Miriam for the timestamp on their check-in. She pulled it up. They checked in at 1:20 p.m. They came to the desk at 2:55 p.m. That meant the photos were taken fast. I walked out and crossed the lot to the small security camera box mounted on a pole near the shuttle lane. It wasn't a perfect system, but it covered some angles. I called our back office and asked someone to pull the footage. It would take time. In the meantime, I did the other part of my job. I walked the lot. It wasn't just cars, it was people. Families unloading, couples arguing about directions, kids running between bumpers like the drivers could see through metal. If someone with a camera was targeting tourists, he would blend in without effort. I didn't find him. I found something else. A printed flyer tucked under the wiper of a different car. It looked like someone slipped it there quickly. The flyer was plain white paper, no logos, no park branding. After-hours photo walk. Sunset views without the crowd. Meet behind the laundry building at 8:30 p.m. Bring a headlamp. I stared at it and felt the hair on my arms rise. Visitors didn't have reason to know where the laundry building was, not in a way that would lead them to a meeting point behind it. I peeled the flyer off and folded it into my pocket. When I got back to the office, Shelley was on the phone. She covered the receiver and looked at me. "Dispatch wants to know if we've had any missing person reports today," she said. My chest tightened. "Today?" She nodded. "A couple hasn't been seen since mid-afternoon," she said. "Room 312, the same ones with the photos." That didn't make sense. I had just spoken to them. I turned and walked fast back toward the front desk. Miriam saw my face and stood up. "They left," she said, before I could ask. "They said they were going to watch the next eruption and then get dinner." "What time was that?" I asked. "About 4:10 p.m. I checked my watch. It was 5:35 p.m. I asked Miriam, "Did they take their phones?" She swallowed. "I don't know." I walked outside and scanned the lot for their vehicle. I found it in the same row they'd described. The driver's door was unlocked. I didn't open it right away. I looked around first. Nothing obvious. I opened the door with 2 fingers, keys on the driver's seat, phones not visible, a small day pack missing. It looked staged. It looked like someone wanted staff to find the vehicle, but not too fast. I closed the door and called it in. Shelley's voice came back over the radio, tight now. "Rangers are responding," she said. "They want last known direction." I looked toward the boardwalk and the crowd. "That's the problem," I said. "It's Old Faithful. Everyone goes everywhere." At 6:05 p.m., 2 rangers arrived to take statements. One was a law enforcement ranger named Tom Vargas. The other was a ranger named Elise Rourke, who carried a small pack and moved like someone used to trails. Tom asked me to repeat everything: the photos, the flyer, the unlocked vehicle. Elise listened without interrupting, then said, "Show me where you found the flyer." I took her to the row and pointed out the car it had been on. The owner was gone. We didn't touch the vehicle. Elise photographed the spot and then looked at me. "Laundry building," she said. "Who has access back there?" "Employees," I said. "Deliveries, maintenance, not guests." Tom asked, "You said the flyer invited guests behind it." "Yes," I said. "Which means whoever wrote it knows the layout." Tom nodded once, like he'd already decided what category this fell into. He didn't say it out loud, but I heard it in his voice. This wasn't a prank. Tom said, "We're going to start with a quick area search. Boardwalk, lodge, dining rooms, bathrooms. Then we widen." Elise asked, "Any cameras pointed at that parking row?" I told her about the pole camera and the back office pole. Elise said, "Get that footage as soon as you can." Tom said, "Adrian, you're staff. I'm not going to put you in danger. But you know these service corridors and back doors. If we need to check employee-only zones, you'll be useful." I nodded. "Just tell me what to do." He held my gaze. "Do not go alone. If you see someone suspicious, you call it in. You don't approach." I agreed. And then I did the thing that later made me feel stupid. I assumed the danger was aimed at the guests, not at me. By 6:45 p.m., the first sweep turned up nothing. No couple, no phones, no abandoned pack. Tom talked with dispatch again. Elise paced along the lodge entrance, watching faces like she could separate one bad person from thousands. Shelley approached us with a laptop. "We pulled the lot footage," she said. She set the laptop on a counter in the back office and played a clip. The camera angle was wide, grainy, and partly blocked by a parked shuttle. But you could still see the couple walk up to their vehicle at 2:52 p.m. They stood by the hood for less than a minute, looking at the stack under the wiper. Then the man picked up the prints and they both walked away toward the lodge. Tom leaned in. "Rewind 10 seconds. Shelley did. A man with a baseball cap and a dark day pack crossed behind the couple's car. He moved with purpose, not wandering. As he passed the windshield, his arm lifted and something white slid under the wiper. He never slowed. He didn't look around. He moved like he already knew no one would challenge him." Elise pointed at the screen. "Zoom on his face," she said. Shelley tried, but the image broke apart into blur. Tom asked, "Can we track where he came from?" Shelley rewound more. The man came from the direction of the visitor center area, blending in with the crowd. Then, 10 minutes later, he walked the other way, toward the service road that led behind the lodge. Tom sat back. "He went where guests don't," he said. Elise looked at me. "Show me the quickest way behind the laundry building," she said. We left the office as a group, Tom, Elise, me, and another staff member who carried a flashlight and looked like he regretted leaving his desk. His name was Brent. He worked facilities and knew locks. We walked past the lodge, through a side gate marked Employees Only, and into the service corridor that ran behind the main buildings. The air changed back there. Fewer voices, more humming from machinery, the smell of cleaning products and damp fabric. I hated that it felt safer and worse at the same time. Tom kept us moving. "Any places a person could hide?" he asked. "Plenty," I said. "Storage rooms, dumpsters, loading bays." Brent added, "Laundry has cages, linen storage, a lot of doors." Elise walked ahead, scanning the ground. Not like a tracker, more like someone trying to notice what didn't belong. At 7:20 p.m., we reached the backside of the laundry building. It was quiet. The sun was lower, and the service lights had started to flicker on. I saw the spot where someone had taped up the flyer earlier. The paper was gone now, but a small strip of adhesive remained on the metal door frame. Tom raised his radio. "Dispatch, we're at the laundry building," he said. "No sign of the subjects yet. We're checking storage and adjacent service areas." Dispatch acknowledged. Elise walked to the dumpsters and looked inside with her light. Nothing but bags. Brent checked a side door. Locked. Then I saw something on the ground near a stack of pallets. A glossy photo, face down. I picked it up before I thought better, then froze because I remembered evidence rules. I held it by the edge and handed it straight to Tom. Tom took it with gloves and flipped it. The photo showed the same couple from the parking lot, but closer now. They stood near the boardwalk railing, the woman's hair caught by wind. The shot was taken from behind a trash can, low and tight. At the bottom, in small black print, were numbers that looked like a timestamp. 4:06 p.m. Elise stared at the photo. "They were still being followed after they talked to the desk," she said. Tom's voice hardened. "Someone printed that recently," he said. "These are fresh." Brent swallowed. "Printed here?" Tom didn't answer, but he didn't have to. A portable photo printer fits in a day pack. A person could print anywhere with the right setup. Elise asked me, "Where can someone sit undisturbed back here?" I pointed down the corridor toward employee housing and the maintenance yard. "Back there," I said. "Less foot traffic." Tom looked at Brent. "Any cameras?" Brent shook his head. "Not in the yard." Tom made a decision. "Elise, you and Adrian stay with me," he said. "Brent, go back and bring another ranger. Don't run. Don't lose sight of your surroundings." Brent left. I didn't like being down a person, but I didn't argue. Tom walked the corridor toward the maintenance yard, radio in hand. Elise stayed half a step behind him, light moving in short sweeps. My heart kept trying to speed up. I told myself it was adrenaline, that it would settle. It didn't. At 7:45 p.m., we reached a fence line that separated the service corridor from a narrow footpath leading toward a footbridge over the Firehole River. It wasn't a public bridge, it was a staff connector, used by employees walking between housing and the main area. Tom slowed. Elise lifted her light and aimed it along the path. There, on the ground, was a small day pack. Blue fabric, side pocket, a water bottle clipped to the strap. Tom crouched and looked without touching. Could be theirs, he said. Elise leaned in. And this, she said. A phone lay beside the pack, screen dark. Tom looked at me. Adrian, do you recognize that pack? I remembered the woman's shoulders, the way she carried it when I first spoke to them. It looks like it, I said. Tom spoke into his radio. Dispatch, possible property located near Staff Footbridge. Request additional units to this position. Then he stood and looked down the path. Elise's eyes stayed hard. This is a funnel, she said. You don't drop items here by accident. Tom nodded. Agreed. He looked at me again. Stay behind me, he said. I did. We moved onto the path, slow, lights angled down and forward. The trees closed in enough to mute the distant noise of the main lodge. Halfway to the bridge, Elise stopped and pointed. A strip of glossy photo paper lay tucked into a crack in the bridge's wooden railing. Tom reached for it with gloved fingers and pulled it free. He held it up to the light. The photo showed the couple walking this same path. The shot was taken from behind them, close enough that you could see the seam on the man's shirt. Timestamp at the bottom, 6:38 p.m. Elise whispered, He walked them here. Tom's jaw tightened. We stepped onto the bridge. The river below wasn't roaring, but it moved fast enough to be unforgiving. The current slid between rocks and disappeared into shadow. Elise's light swept ahead. At the far end of the bridge, a figure stood near the railing. A man in a baseball cap, dark day pack on his back. He didn't flinch when the light hit him. He raised his hands, empty, like he expected this moment. Tom called out, Step away from the railing. The man did, slow. He spoke calmly. You're looking for them, he said. Tom didn't answer his statement. He said, Where are they? The man smiled, small and private, like he'd heard a secret. I can show you, he said. But not all of you. Too many eyes. Elise snapped. Now. The man's gaze drifted to Elise, then to me, like he was choosing. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. Security, he said, looking right at me. You were fast, faster than I expected. I hadn't told him my role. Tom stepped forward. Hands where I can see them. Turn around. The man didn't turn. He reached into his day pack. Tom moved instantly, closing distance. The man swung his arm out, and a burst of spray hit the air. I felt it catch my face before I could blink. Heat and pain flooded my eyes and throat. My lungs locked up. Elise grabbed my shoulder and yanked me back. Tom tackled the man, driving him against the railing. They struggled in tight movements, boots scraping wood. I tried to see through burning eyes. I heard Elise speaking into her radio, voice fast. Then I felt a hand clamp onto my shirt from behind. Not Tom, not Elise, someone else. The man had a partner. Or I was more blind than I'd realized. I twisted and threw my elbow hard. It connected with something solid, maybe a chest. A grunt. Then my legs went out from under me. I hit the bridge deck, face down, trying to breathe. A cord cinched tight around my wrists. Not zip ties. Something rough and fast, like nylon rope. I kicked and thrashed, but I couldn't get leverage. The pain in my eyes kept me half in panic, half in fog. Then a voice spoke near my ear, controlled and close. Easy, the voice said. You're going to slip. It was the same man. There wasn't a second person. He had gotten off Tom long enough to get to me. My hands were bound behind me now. Tight. He grabbed my belt and dragged me toward the bridge railing. The wood scraped my cheek. My shoulder slammed a post. I tried to scream, but my throat only coughed. Elise shouted somewhere behind me. Tom shouted too. The man didn't hurry. He didn't need to. He hauled me to the railing and leaned me forward. I felt the river's cold breath below. He whispered, almost conversational. You won't be the first, he said. You won't be the last, but you're the cleanest. Then he shoved. My upper body went over the rail. For one awful second, I hung there by my waist and ribs, balanced wrong, ready to tip. I clenched my knees and hooked my boot on the lower slat of the railing, catching myself by sheer friction. The man pushed again, trying to break that hold. My boot slipped a fraction. I didn't think. I slammed my heels against the railing post, twisting my body sideways, trying to drop back onto the deck instead of down into the river. My bound hands banged the wood. I felt splinters. The man's grip tightened on my shirt. Then Elise hit him. I didn't see it clearly, but I felt the pressure release as his weight shifted. I rolled onto the bridge deck, gasping, eyes still on fire. Tom was back on him now, driving him down with his knee, forcing his arms behind his back. Elise crouched over me, fingers working at the knot on my wrists. "Don't move," she said. "I've got you." I kept trying to breathe. I heard Tom's voice, hard and steady. "Where are they?" he demanded. The man laughed once, not loud, just enough to show he wasn't scared. Elise got the knot loose and yanked the rope free. My wrists burned. I blinked and blinked, tears streaming. Elise said, "Adrian, look at me. Can you see?" "Barely," I rasped. "Stay low," she said. Tom hauled the man up and shoved him against the railing, cuffing him with metal restraints from his belt kit. The man didn't fight anymore. He looked past Tom to me again, as if Tom didn't matter. "I printed you," he said, voice calm. "You'll see." Elise snapped, "Stop talking." Tom keyed his radio. "Dispatch, suspect detained at staff footbridge," he said. "We need units here now. We also need a search team for missing couple. Suspect indicates they're nearby." Dispatch responded immediately. More units were on the way. Tom looked at Elise. "Get Adrian away from the edge." Elise guided me off the bridge and onto the path, sitting me against a tree trunk. My eyes slowly cleared enough to make shapes. I saw Tom standing with the man. I saw the man's day pack on the bridge deck. Then I saw something else. A second day pack, tucked near the bridge post, like it had been staged. Blue fabric. The missing couple's pack. Elise noticed it too. Tom didn't move his gaze from the suspect, but he spoke. "Elise, check the pack. Don't go alone. Stay within sight." Elise grabbed my arm. "You're not coming," she said. "I can walk," I said. "You can't see," she replied. I hated that she was right. Tom called another ranger on the radio, someone arriving from the main area, and asked them to meet Elise at the bridge. While we waited, the suspect spoke again, soft, like he was telling a story only he enjoyed. "They went quiet," he said. "That's the best part, right when they stop arguing and stop asking questions." Tom didn't react. He only said, "Where?" The man tilted his head. "Behind the laundry building," he said. "The place you were headed first." My stomach dropped. That meant we'd been close, and he'd drawn us away to the bridge. Elise's face tightened. When the second ranger arrived, Elise stood. "You stay with Adrian," she told the ranger. Then, she and Tom moved the suspect back toward the service corridor, keeping him between them. I followed at a distance despite Elise's order, because standing still felt worse. The ranger with me stayed close enough to grab my arm if I veered. My eyes watered constantly, but I could see enough. We reached the laundry building at 8:25 p.m. The service lights buzzed overhead. Tom led the suspect to a wall and positioned him where he could be watched. Elise began checking doors. Brent returned with another ranger right then, breathless, face pale. Tom gave quick instructions. Teams split. Flashlights fanned out. Elise tried a side door that Brent had said was locked earlier. This time, it opened. Elise stepped inside, light sweeping across rows of carts and shelves. A faint movement in the far corner. Elise called out, "Ranger, if you can hear me, make a sound." A muffled voice answered. It wasn't clear, it wasn't strong, but it was human. Elise moved faster. She found the couple's missing woman in a storage cage behind stacked linen bags. Her wrists were bound with cloth strips. Her mouth was covered with a strip of tape. Elise peeled it off gently. The woman coughed and sucked in air like it was the first breath she'd had all day. "My husband," she rasped. "Where is he?" Elise kept her voice calm. "We're looking," she said. "You're safe right now. Can you walk?" The woman nodded, shaking. Tom stared at the suspect. Tom asked, "Where is the man?" The suspect shrugged as much as he could while cuffed. "He didn't listen," he said. "He wanted to be brave." Tom's face didn't change, but his eyes went colder. Elise guided the woman out of the cage. Another ranger took her by the elbow and wrapped her in a jacket. Then a shout came from behind the building. A ranger had found something. We moved as a group, fast but controlled, following the voice. Near a stand of trees behind the service road, in a shallow dip, a body lay covered by a tarp. No gore, no details I want to carry. Just enough to confirm what had happened. The woman made a sound and tried to run toward it. Elise held her back and spoke softly into her ear, keeping her from seeing too much. Tom turned back to the suspect. "You did this," Tom said, flat. The suspect smiled again, like he'd been waiting for that sentence. "I didn't do anything," he said. "I recorded it." That was the moment I understood him. He didn't see himself as a predator. He saw himself as a collector. He wasn't after money. He wasn't after a fight. He was after control and proof. At 9:10 p.m., the area filled with more units. Dispatch took over coordination. The suspect was placed into a vehicle. The surviving woman was brought toward medical. I sat on a curb behind the laundry building with a bottle of water, still blinking tears out of my eyes, wrists raw. Elise came back to me once things stabilized. She knelt and said, "You're going to be okay." "I almost wasn't," I said. Elise nodded once. "I know." Tom approached with a clear evidence bag. Inside it was a small portable photo printer, the kind you can run off a phone. Also inside were memory cards and a thin binder. Tom looked at me and said, "You should see this before it goes away." He opened the binder carefully. Inside were printed photos in plastic sleeves sorted by date, people at viewpoints, people eating, people standing by their cars. Some faces were marked with a small dot in pen, like a selection. Several sleeves were empty, but the date labels remained. Elise said quietly, "Missing persons." Tom turned a few pages, then stopped. He pointed at a sleeve near the back. It was labeled with today's date, July 18th, 2019. Inside was a photo of me at the security office doorway at 2:27 p.m., stepping outside with my radio in hand. The angle was close. It had been taken from across the service lane. Behind the photo, in the same sleeve, was a printed sheet of paper, not a confession, not a manifesto, a simple list with headings: time, location, name. The last line had my first name on it, Adrian. Under that, a blank space where a time would go. Elise watched my face change and said, "He didn't improvise, he planned." Tom closed the binder and sealed it. At 10:05 p.m., I gave a full statement. At 11:30 p.m., I walked back toward my car, still inside the park, still under those dark trees, feeling like the safe parts of the place had gotten smaller. I didn't look at the geyser basin. I didn't look at the lodge lights. I looked at the parking rows, at the windshields, at the places where paper can be tucked and left. And I kept thinking about that blank space next to my name, because someone had printed my name in advance, and that meant he had already decided where I belonged. If you ever visit Yellowstone, or any big park like it, don't treat the crowd like protection. It's not. A crowd is just a place to disappear inside. Stay with your person. Keep your phone charged. Don't follow someone who knows a shortcut, even if they sound confident. If something feels off, make it awkward and step back into the open where other people are. Before I go, I want to be clear about one thing. This story is fiction, created for entertainment. It's not a real case, and it's not meant to represent any actual people or events. It's written in a realistic style, but it's a fictional scenario designed to explore how situations like this could unfold. And now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a moment while traveling where someone's behavior felt wrong, even if you couldn't explain why? Did you ignore it, or did you trust that feeling and leave? Drop your experience in the comments. Keep it simple. Where you were, what felt off, and what you did next. If you have questions about the story, ask them. I'll answer what I can. And if you work in parks, hotels, security, or any place where crowds are normal, share what you've noticed. Small details matter more than people realize. I read the comments. I take them seriously. Tell me what stood out to you most, and what you would have done differently in my place.